Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were going to get it. And ladies and gentlemen, you guys already know that we are back once again on another episode of the RotoHackers Podcast. My name is AJ Herschel, also known as the Kid. Over here, you have the man, the myth, the legend, Judah Buddha, and you guys already know that it is the absolute stud. It's Jared. That's once again graced his presence with us today. We're your unauthorized reporters of fantasy football news and information. How are you doing today? I know we asked each other that like 2 minutes before we went on stream, but anyway.
Well, I'll say this: I am on the second day of a fast, going on the third tomorrow. All I got is tea. It's got like cayenne pepper and turmeric and salt and water and tea. So if I have to run out of here, it's because it's just going right through me.
Yep. Jared, how about you?
Eating regular meals.
Nice.
Nothing else to report there. Added a little more vitamin C lately. That's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have a friend who's making. I forget what he. It was stuck in my head for a while, but I can't remember it now. But it's some kind of like breathable vitamin C.
Okay.
He's using like, I don't know, like shoe polish or something. I don't know.
Okay. Let me just say, vitamin C is like the easiest. Like you can get these tasty little chewable, dissolvable that seems like finding a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. Like, okay, what if we get shoe polish type vitamin C to inhale? That seems like.
No, it wasn't shoe polish. I was exaggerating, but
I'm just gonna keep with my little tablets here. I could show you one, but I mean, it's like a cough drop, you know.
I think we know what a tablet is.
Yeah.
How about you, AJ?
I'm eating normally, taquitos and ramen. That's kind of half of my lifestyle. My mom's cooking a lot more desserts, which is great. And I finally got my jelly beans in from Walmart. So
A special flavor or
nope, just a 40 flavored pack of jelly beans that I've been waiting for.
You can get pear. I had last jelly beans I had were pear jelly beans. Pear's pretty good.
Pear jelly beans, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
I got the assorted mix.
The last jelly bean I had was, I think it was dirty sock flavored.
Oh, not those. Oh my goodness, I banned those from my house.
I'll pass on those.
Yeah,
that was gross. But people often get mad at me for just throwing a bunch of jelly bellies in my mouth without sorting them. Is that taboo or?
Yeah, that's weird. I'm gonna say that's weird. I think
it's okay.
No, you can do it with Skittles or M&Ms.
What's the difference? Like I do the same thing with Skittles.
Because Skittles taste a lot more similar. M&Ms, of course, taste exactly alike. Jelly beans is a bridge too far. They taste too different. You can't, like, if you're just gonna throw them all in there, that's like getting your meal and then you just take like a little bite of everything and put it all together and take a bite of it. It's weird.
I do that too.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I
never thought
know.
weird was bad.
It works with some jelly beans. Like cherry and watermelon can go together.
Yeah.
Java and licorice do not.
Yeah, well, it's like gum. Like if they would put the two flavors together in a gum, it's okay because they do that with gum. But yeah, not like coffee and watermelon or something like that. No.
Yeah.
I mix some pretty crazy things.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on. There was a decent amount of news this week, but I think
just today alone.
Oh yeah, I think first of all though, that Jared emailed me the results of our projected mock draft, and guess who was on top?
I asked Judah. I said, since we won't be playing this league, do we just go ahead and accept these as the final standings? I think we do. I think that's the only logical
Oh,
response.
Of course.
He disagrees, but
I actually ran my own projections, and everybody on Jared's team gets injured.
Computation.
And you know what happens is then I find even better replacements for him.
Probably.
See, here's the funny thing. It's like you get the satisfaction of winning the whole league, but I get the satisfaction of beating him in the third place.
True.
So
that's true.
I'll take it.
But for I'm gonna assume that I played him in the semifinals and I beat him in the semifinals. That's how I'm assuming this went.
You guys get your little fantasy on, and I'll actually play later.
Is he in denial? I think he's in denial.
I don't
in
know.
Denial of losing a fake league? I don't think I'm the one in denial, people.
If only we had any kind of like real world.
All right, let's move on. We got lots to talk about.
Okay.
Well, the first news has to be that Robert Gronkowski has returned. That's got to be the biggest piece of news.
Yeah, that's pretty
My
big.
goodness.
So, do any of you guys watch Masked Singer?
I've seen clips. I've never watched it.
Okay.
One episode.
I'm a big fan. I've seen all the episodes.
Okay.
And so, spoiler alert, if anybody is listening, I'm about to spoil Masked Singer. Do you guys mind if I spoil Masked Singer?
Please spoil it. I just check Wikipedia every couple weeks anyway to see who lost.
Okay. It's not a big surprise because I called it from the beginning, but Gronkowski is on it as the White Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And I was thinking to myself, because they were filming this during last season, I actually thought to myself, because we saw him come out and, he took off his mask. He's in great shape still.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking to myself, what if the only reason he didn't come back to the league was because he's having too much fun? Because he went a lot further than anybody expected. Because he was terrible. He was a terrible singer.
It was horrible.
He had so many moves, and he just got the crowd into. He's a good dancer, right? And he ended up going way further. And the thing is this season that they did, it was like he was part of a group that had to wait for the next group, and so it went probably way longer than he expected, probably into the football season. I don't know. Maybe he just was like, I'm just going to take a break, and all along he wanted to come back.
I think it's probably a combination of stuff. I think he probably didn't want to go back to the Patriots situation. Yeah. That's probably part of it because he had, basically talked about like the level of commitment required with Bill Belichick and some friction there and things like that. I think it probably was part of it that he was just having fun and wanted a year away. And the real question here is he won a title at WrestleMania. So what happens?
Right.
Does he have to forfeit his WrestleMania title? I think the best publicity for WWE would be to let him keep that title and let him wear it like on the field during warm up. Pretty sure the NFL would probably have
that
an
was
issue
the
with that.
lamest way to win, though. Did you
I
see
didn't.
it?
I didn't see it,
yeah.
or I just heard about it. So. Yeah, but
he came in at the end and like dropped the table on everybody, walked over them and grabbed it and became the winner. He didn't even have to wrestle anybody. I think he maybe DDT'd like one person or something.
I saw a clip from like the intro where it was him talking to somebody else, and I was just like, nah, this isn't working for me. It was just he was too much of a goofball for it. I don't know. With wrestling, you've got to like, it's over the top, but you've got to
be serious.
You got to be serious, and he was just too much of a goofball. So,
Who's your favorite all-time wrestler?
Oh gosh, all time. That's a tough one. I've just had different guys at different times.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with them as an '80s kid or late '80s. And then I was just away from it I liked The Rock when he was there. CM Punk. I liked him. His Chicago guy. He got famous for a big what they called the pipe bomb speech. I liked CM Punk.
Yeah. I've got CM Punk. Let me get him.
Yeah, Randy Orton. Randy Orton's. Well, I'll wait till he comes back.
Yeah. I'll just do this.
Oh, you got a CM Punk. Nice. You've got a CM Punk. Yeah,
I've got lots. Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Orton. Orton was great for. Like he's not the best on the mic, and he's not the best wrestler, but really Orton's just great for like memes and gifs, and just like the RKO, like the RKO has kind of spawned its own thing, and and you see people RKOing each other and like professional athletes pretending to do that to each other. So I respect Randy Orton for that. So
okay, I asked for one person, but okay, all right. Okay.
I can't. I really don't have one. I really don't have one guy. So
Steve Austin's my favorite, though. It's pretty close between him and The Rock. I mean, The Rock has the best
eyebrow
eyebrow stuff. How about you, AJ? Do you like any wrestlers?
It was, for me, for a long time, it was always Rey Mysterio. Partially because he was the first wrestling action figure I got as a present, and he had the coolest mask I had ever seen before. Yeah. And he is still my favorite. Even though he retired for 2 years, he came back. So 619, he's my favorite.
I was flipping through I don't watch it that much anymore, but I was flipping through channels and I saw MVP's back. Do you remember MVP? Like MVP was this guy that was never that good to begin with. And I think he was kind of getting up. I don't know how old he is, but I thought he was kind of getting up there. And then all of a sudden he's just back. I don't know. Anyway, that's beside it.
Sure.
But, so Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
So here's the question is where does Rob Gronkowski slot in? Like where would you rank him among tight ends? And how does he affect primarily Brady, but then also does he affect Evans and Godwin? So I'll throw mine out first.
Yeah.
I would put him in. I think you can make a case for putting him in at like tight end 5 or 6. That might be too high, but to me, after you get past Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Ertz, who do you put there next? Is Darren Waller going to repeat what he did last year? He didn't have that many touchdowns, and now they've got Jason Witten in Las Vegas. Tyler Higbee, was incredible, for those last 4 games. But is he going to be able to repeat that? You've got all these guys that you just, it's hard to say. So, I mean, Gronk, if he could stay healthy and, Tampa's in a up-tempo offense that, can get the ball in the red zone and get him some touchdowns. I think you could make a case for him at like 5 or 6, Austin Hooper. He went from Atlanta to Cleveland. How's that going to affect him? So I think really after like Ertz at 4, you can make a case anywhere in there. For Brady, I think it bumps him up a couple spots in my rankings. I think Brady's now like, whereas before I would have maybe put him around 12, 13. I think maybe he's more like 10. When you start looking at all the weapons that he's got. I don't think it really hurts Evans. Like we talked about before, the fact that I think Godwin might do better with Brady than Evans because Evans is more of the downfield guy. But by the same token, now with Gronk coming in for that same reason, I think it probably, if it's going to hurt either one of those, maybe it hurts Godwin a little bit more because Brady's going to take some of those over the middle targets away from him, whereas Evans is going to be more the downfield guy. And Evans, even though he's huge, wasn't targeted in the red zone as much as Godwin was last year, I think. So I think if it's going to hurt either one of them, it might hurt Godwin a little bit.
I agree.
So that's kind of my overall thoughts.
Judah Buddha, what you think?
I'll take Hunter Henry over him. I will take Darren Waller over him, Hayden Hurst, Jonnu Smith, and Jack Doyle. I'll put him top 10, but look, I watched him play the last 2 years. I'm a huge Gronk fan,
Mhm.
and now maybe the rest helped.
Right.
Maybe the rest didn't help. Maybe he's going to come back rusty and going to have like a real tough time reintegrating. And maybe he'll be back to himself by like the last 6 games. That's really not a gamble I want to take, especially coming from I mean, I know that Brady is going to look for him and but yeah, I mean, he's got that great wingspan and just tenacity to get a lot of touchdowns. I just think all these other guys have a similar touchdown projection, and there's a lot of mouths to feed there.
Mm-hmm.
So if he had a better quarterback, I would be really excited. And it helps that it's his buddy, but
well, something that someone else was pointing out was if we have sort of abbreviated off season, if there's not as many preseason games, if there's not as much time for minicamp, where Brady doesn't have the time to get acclimated to guys like Evans and Godwin, does that, make him more likely to rely on someone, like Gronk, who they have that history and chemistry with? So that's been another argument for Gronk.
That's interesting. That is interesting, but he's so hobbled, man. From the last time I saw him, like it's going to be easy. It was that last season easy to guard him. You know?
Yeah.
Now the thing is, I think they're going to be a dynamic team in 2001. I think everybody's jumping the gun. People do this. They get super excited about a team that's going to have some trouble cohesing.
True.
This is the coach's second year, with the team. He's a veteran coach. He's no freaking, what's his name? Hastings, or what was the Browns coach?
Hugh Jackson?
Kitchens.
Yeah.
He's no Kitchens, obviously. He's a lot better, a lot more seasoned. But it's still going to take a time to get acclimated as a team, and they could come on strong at the end. I mean, it would be very Brady-esque to really come on strong at the end, make the playoffs, and who knows, make it the Super Bowl. But it's going to be rough going in the first couple of weeks, first 6 weeks, I guarantee. Especially if they have, no off season. What do you think, AJ?
I keep thinking about it. It's like I like it. What I'm very curious to find out is how many deep shots Brady is going to take, because Jameis Winston can just throw the ball wherever he wanted to, and Edelman was never a huge deep threat for the most part ever, and I mean Gronk wasn't super much of a deep threat either. And I know Brady can take shots, but the Bucs offense I think is going to be a lot more short game this year, which makes me interested to see how their running game is going to function, because they still have Ronald Jones, and they also still have, what's his name? Ogunbowale, whatever his last name is. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Ogunbowale.
There you go. He figured it out. Thank you. And I don't know how that's going to end up. I think it probably hurts Godwin and Evans a little bit, probably. And then the other thing is, yeah, Godwin had a better season statistically than Mike Evans. Is that going to hold true for the next year? You've got a new quarterback in there. I think they're still safe picks. I like Gronk as top 10. I think I still like Godwin as top 10. Evans I'm worrying about. And I mean, Brady was already in my top 10 for quarterbacks anyway, because I'm high on the Bucs. The Bucs and the Broncos. Those are the two teams that are really high on this year. So I was high on the Bucs to start with. I think this makes them even better. I don't know. I'm excited. I think they'll be good. I think Gronk is going to do I think he's going to do well. I think they're going to be a very statistically good offense at the very least, to say the least. So We'll just see how it has to work out.
I should also qualify my part about like putting him as high as 5 with saying that that's predicated on them trading, assuming that they trade OJ Howard. If they keep both of them, then that's even more spread around. And and then I would put him down closer to like 10. You know,
I mean, even if they don't get rid of OJ Howard, they still got Brait. Brait's like mini Gronk.
yeah.
But one of them is going to be playing third fiddle at some point. It's going to be Gronk, and whichever one ends up being second string, and then that's going to be it. And they'll either trade someone or let him go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious why they were shopping around OJ Howard now.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like, do you imagine, like, do you picture Brady got there and he's like, okay, guys, if I'm going to come over here, first, I'm going to need my man Gronk. Second, that's the only thing, I guess. Yep, I just need Gronk.
Who knows? I don't know. I think it's one of those where probably whatever he wanted, they would have been willing to do because, I mean, again, he's like I talked about them being, one of my like two big winners for the offseason. It's because, I mean, they're getting what is Brady, 42-year-old quarterback?
So.
57.
Yeah. 42-year-old quarterback. I don't know how much he's got left, but man, this is the first time that Tampa has been relevant since like almost 20 years ago, so.
All I put in was how old is.
And that's what came up. And Tom
How
Brady
old
came
is
up?
Tom Brady?
Gotta be
Popped
kidding
up.
me.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So, parenthetically, I am friends with Julian Edelman's cousin.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. We met through fantasy football. What would you think of having him on the show? He's a big fantasy football guy. He's actually very good.
Sure.
Why not? Of course. Bring him on.
Okay.
That's funny.
I don't know. I'll see if I can get him to come on.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we became friends on Facebook, and we were just talking about a trade. We just ended up being kind of a lot of similarities between the way we think and stuff, and so.
Cool.
He's
Nice.
young. He's young. Like he's like a 25.
So now do they have any real like, do they keep up with each other or?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they do. Yeah, I mean they're a Jewish family, and so family's like important. And he talks a lot about being Jewish and stuff like that. So I think he talks a lot about his cousin Jules. He says cousin Jules.
That is awesome.
That was the name of his fantasy football team. Cousin Jules gonna win it all, or something like that.
Now, did he have Julian Edelman on his team?
That's the main question.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he took him real high in the draft,
You got
and
to.
and it turned out to be a good. It was all right. He won. I think he won the league.
Oh, man. Oh, there you go. It all started there.
It's a legacy league, or what do you call it? Dynasty league.
Yeah.
Which I gotta check back into, see if we're. I guess we won't draft till after the big draft. So,
Yeah.
what's that?
Real
What
quick.
else is in the news?
Thomas H. said he doesn't care if Gronk stinks. It's just fun to have him back.
That is true.
That is very true. Random memory thing, but I remember back when Madden, I want to say it was 15 came out, and they got like him, Antonio Brown, and Von Miller to do like song parodies for commercials, and it was the funniest thing watching him do a parody of "Living on a Prayer." It was because he can't sing at all,
He's a fun
but
guy.
it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. It was awesome.
He really can't sing.
He really
He
can't.
can't. On the Masked Singer, he like would rap every. He can't even rap.
No,
into it.
no. I saw the first episode with him on it.
It was abysmal. My wife, she's a singer, and she's just the whole time like, I'm like, yeah, go Gronk, yeah. It's just like,
That's painful.
okay. What else do we have in the news?
Well, we know we have one thing from today.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite thing, Judah.
Oh yeah.
Two of them, actually.
I got a notification
Yes.
early this morning about that.
It lived up to the hype.
Oh,
You were excited. You were
yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah, because normally, like, I'm not necessarily always trashing every NFL uniform, but I'm always like, why did they do that? Or why did they do that? You know, like if they just hadn't done that, it would have been fine. Chargers, I don't think I have anything that I can critique on them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see
this is gonna
them.
be fun. This is gonna be fun.
You got it up? AJ?
Yes, I have got it up. And then, of course, like the Patriot, I got it. I already have it pulled up. And of course, the Patriots had like just moved their color rush one or whatever.
Yeah, the Patriots are fine. I don't really have anything to critique about those. I'm not gonna like praise those. They're okay. But yeah, I like those okay. But man, the Chargers hit it out of the park. Too bad they don't have
what? They don't have what?
Fans to enjoy them.
Oh, no. Dude, Chargers have some of the most diehard fans out there.
And then they left San Diego.
Especially that dark uniform, which I know people love. I know people love the powder blue, and I still like the powder blue. But man, that dark one on the far right, that is not. And I love the numbers on the helmets. I love that.
You do like that, really?
Yeah. I would have never even thought to do that, but I like that. But yeah, I like every single one of those uniforms.
I'll be perfectly honest. I told this to Jared. I have no idea what's different. If somebody had been like, if nobody had said anything, I'd have been none the wiser.
I mean, I think like in smaller terms of tweaks, they like because the powder blue is basically the same, but they like tweaked the numbers on the jersey a little bit. And then, of course, they put the numbers on the helmet, so it's more Dan Fouts 60s era Chargers uniforms. And then, like, the last two are more reminiscent of, especially the last one is more reminiscent of Phillip Rivers' rookie season, Drew Brees' early LaDainian Tomlinson era, which is just it's so nice. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love that Navy one.
So they put the numbers on the helmets, and then on the little bolt on the shoulders, they used to have, and I never understood why they did this, and I'm glad they took it off. They used to have a white background behind it that was like, that looked like you had just like cropped it out of like you downloaded an image off the internet and you cropped it out in Photoshop, but you didn't take the time to take the crop tool and go around the edges of it, and so it had this like kind of white, area surrounding it. So they got rid of that, which that's good. And then they put the bolt on the pants. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if they. I guess they changed the numbers a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
I like those.
I think I like that more with the powder blue as like the main jersey because that's how the Chargers should be now and forever. But having the color rush alternates though, is what unifies the whole thing. And this is like classic done right. I love this.
Thumbs up. Good job, Chargers.
10 out of 10.
Way
Beautiful.
to go, Chargers.
And our resident Falcons fan, Thomas H., says he hopes the Falcons are taking notes.
But the tough thing is they just changed it though. So like when's it going to be when they change it again? You know?
Yeah.
Stuck with them for a while, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
A+. Well done, Chargers. Flying colors. Flying powder blue, yellow, and navy.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a quick thing to say really fast. This is like nothing to do with anything else, but I might as well get this over with mid-show. Here we go. This is my first one of these in a while, and it is a formal apology to a certain someone. Yes. Vince McMahon, I called your XFL an inevitable disaster in early 2019 and a train wreck. I was wrong, and you provided us with inventive, even though it wasn't as good as the NFL, fun football with smart rule changes, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I forgot to wear black because I'm now mourning the bankruptcy of the XFL.
Really? Did you see that? Like the commissioner is suing
Oliver
Vince McMahon?
Luck, Andrew Luck's dad, is suing McMahon because naturally Vince McMahon can't do anything that's not shady, and so he fired Oliver Luck a day before it bankrupted, and so I guess it was maybe so that he didn't have to pay him his full salary or something. So now Oliver Luck's suing him, and then a WWE employee is also suing to try to get the live or the Raw and SmackDowns shut down because of COVID-19. So Vince has multiple lawsuits, but no, I do agree with you though. XFL came in with some interesting little wrinkles, and I kind of do hate that it wasn't around longer, because I think if it had been around a little longer, it could have kind of pushed the NFL to adopt maybe some of its better changes, even if it was just a couple of them. But I don't know now. Now it was such a blip on the radar. I don't know if it'll happen or not.
I think it's interesting how many teams are taking XFL players. There's been I think there's been about a dozen teams that have taken, a backup quarterback here, a lineman in there, but
because the Panthers took PJ Walker, and I can't remember where.
Maybe half a dozen.
The guy went to. No. I think it's about a dozen, and the Chiefs picked up the other good quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu. So, I don't know. Yeah. It was fun. And it honestly, it's kind of funny because I actually did do a fantasy league with my little brother and two of my friends.
Oh, a custom one? Or
yeah, we did.
Okay.
It was Alt Fantasy Sports. They did a thing for the AAF as well, and that was a thing. And so we tried it, and my little brother, I helped him with the waiver wire, and I accidentally helped him get the best quarterback in the league and the best wide receiver in the league off the waiver wire after week 1. So he was crushing everybody.
Nice.
And then, but he forgot to set his lineup 1 week because we were super busy. And I think I started 2 players. And so I won the league.
Started 2 players and he didn't start any?
My 2 other friends quit the league because the league crashed on draft night and also week 1. And so they were like, you know what? It isn't worth it. And so I just kept going because it was fun.
That was just like a little like art imitating life preview of what was actually going to happen to the XFL. It was all going to crash and burn due to COVID-19.
I think I was invited, right? To go, I followed a link, but it was hard to get in. Like it wasn't like Yahoo. It was like And then you go to this place, and then you knock on someone's door. Then
you have to have the password and the answer to the secret
question. Exactly.
Cut and paste.
Is your favorite turtle? What is your favorite turtle and whale combined or something like that?
Right.
It was kind of funny because they told us, hey, we're probably expecting a bunch of people to draft on Saturday and our servers can't take that. So don't draft on Saturday. They told us that Saturday night. So of course we had to draft it anyway.
Friday night, you mean?
No, Saturday night. It was like the league started on Sunday. And so to get everyone in, we drafted on Saturday. But on Saturday, they sent us the notification not to draft on Saturday. So the league got off to a great start. Yeah, the Ghost Riders are the first and only official XFL champions.
So other NFL news. I don't know if you guys saw where looks like the Jaguars may be trying to trade Leonard Fournette. They've had problems on and off. And so I guess, his latest thing was he was lobbying for them to sign Cam Newton. And so I think they didn't necessarily take that well to that, and maybe just a combination of everything else. So if he goes somewhere, where would he go? And so I did my top five
go ahead
destinations for him. So I actually put 5. So I did this, and then I saw this later, and so it sounds like maybe I'm not that far off. Number 5, I put Pittsburgh, actually.
Okay.
So, and then I actually saw an article talking about that was a possibility, which, I mean, just about anywhere can be a possibility. But, James Conner is good if he's healthy, but he's always hurt. Pittsburgh, they had a Le'Veon Bell type for, well, they had Le'Veon Bell, not a Le'Veon Bell type. They had Le'Veon Bell himself, who is the ultimate Le'Veon Bell type. So they had Bell for a long time. As Ben gets older and without Antonio Brown there, they probably need to rely on the run more than ever. They can't count on Connor to be healthy, and Fournette's just, I think, objectively a better running back. So I put them. 4, I put Kansas City. I actually saw another place too that was talking about, Kansas City should go after him. They made it with Damian Williams. They could always try that again. They could draft a guy, but Fournette is just, a more dynamic player. Just makes him that much more dangerous. 3, I put San Francisco, actually, because Tevin Coleman, you don't really know what you're going to get from him. Mostert played well, but they're going to be more of a running team than a passing team. If you're going to do that, why not get a guy that is a premier running back? So I put them at 3. 2, I actually put New England. New England, because they've used. You remember that one season they had LeGarrette Blount, where he ran for tons and tons of yards.
I remember that. That was
touchdowns. They're going to need to rely on a running back more. I don't think Belichick's going to probably be all in on a rebuilding year. So if you're still going to be trying to compete, then and you're not going to have an elite quarterback, then why don't you go get a stud running back? And then number 1, I put Tampa Bay. They need a running back. He could just move down the state or move from the northeast corner of the state to the west central corner of the state. I think those would be my 5 spots for him.
Buddha, what do you think?
I like those. I like those a lot. My favorite is Pittsburgh. If he lands in Pittsburgh, I think he could be dynamite.
Yeah.
The other places, it's just the other places are the places that like to collect running backs. No, all of them. And I'm afraid there'd be like a major committee and all those. I guess I'm just not afraid of Connor or what's his name, the other guy there at Pittsburgh.
Jalen Samuels.
No.
Jalen Samuels.
Oh yeah, Jalen Samuels. Yeah, that's true. But who's the other guy?
Benny Snell.
Snell. Yeah. I guess those guys don't intimidate. Like it wouldn't. I think Leonard Fournette is better than all those guys.
I think any of those situations, though, like he would be. I think any of those situations, he would be the guy. I mean, I know with New England tends to like to use a committee, but I think even with New England, like he is just a different caliber of talent than what they've had lately. I think he would be fine in any of those spots. I mean, fine as far as like having the lion's share of the touches.
Oh yeah. I really like Tampa as well. That was the first team I thought of when I heard that the Jags were open to trading him, because if they did, that'd just be frightening if they got him. And even though Pittsburgh makes sense, Pittsburgh worries me because you're taking James Conner and getting another injury-prone running back who has had, how many again? 7 leg injuries and 5 in his right leg. And that really, really worries me if I was Pittsburgh, because I'd just be like, look, we have James Conner who just got injured again. Do we really want to get Leonard Fournette, who also has an injury history dating back to college with leg issues? And that's the only thing holding me back from that. And with Kansas City, I think he could fit too, and that'd just be scary. I just think they'd probably take someone in the draft. But Tampa, I'm all in with you on that. I am all in with you on that one.
Well, and the thing about him too that is like he's only, I think he's still on his original deal, and he's only set to make like $4 million. So so it's not like a money issue for teams with how it would be with somebody like Todd Gurley, you know. So it'll be interesting because money's not really going to be something that impedes him getting traded anywhere. So yeah, I'm curious to see, because I think almost anywhere is going to be an improvement, unless he, you know, did go into some sort of committee situation. But yeah, it'll be something to watch to see if it happens, you know, prior to the draft.
Maybe on draft day too. Maybe someone trades him up and sends him in a package deal.
Right. Yeah. Could be.
That would be my assumption, right? That he would be a good piece to throw in.
Yeah, potentially so. I mean, I don't know what, but I mean, unless, you know, what would Jacksonville, like, I think they've got like the 8th pick, 9th pick. Yeah, I think 9th. Sure. Yeah, you're right. 9th. You know, would they want to trade up for, you know, would that really make sense to, I don't know that there would be anybody at the top of the draft that would want to trade up like a, you know, or want to get him in some sort of deal. So it's possible. I don't know what it would be though.
Yeah. One other team I was just thinking of that might be able to use him. I mean, speaking of Gurley, the Rams now have somewhat of a running back vacancy. And I know a lot of people are saying Darrell Henderson III, and I was listening to, I think it was Colin Cowherd a while about this. LA is about what names you get on your team.
True. And
Leonard Fournette would be huge for them, which is, I think that's another potential landing spot. But money is going to be a problem.
Although Jacksonville probably already has their first round picks from the Jalen Ramsey trade.
Right, exactly.
I imagine they do. I haven't looked that up, but like I think they had to give up a couple of first round picks for Jalen Ramsey. So yeah, I would guess, I don't know. So I'm not sure how much. It's kind of like with like the Texans too. Like I would also throw the Texans in there. They would just pile in with David Johnson and Duke Johnson, and you know they just love to trade picks to people. Except I don't know that they have any draft picks left for like the next 6 years. You know, so
yeah.
So, what else we got?
Well, our resident Bucks fan Ryan N is going ballistic.
Uh-oh.
You are just having the best off season you could possibly have.
No doubt.
My goodness, Tampa
fans that have stuck with it and hung in there deserve this, because there's been a lot of lean years there.
Yeah,
for sure.
This is like their first majorly relevant year since they went to the Super Bowl. Like it's been a long time
since they got Lovie Smith. That was a joke. He was not a big help.
Yeah, no. I still remember.
That was a dig at the Bears.
Yeah, I still remember what's it called. I think it was like his second game or whatever was Monday Night Football against the Bucs. It was Falcons Bucks, and Devin Hester's always been my favorite player. And I remember that that was the game Devin returned like a punt return and a kick return and just lit them up that night. And I was like, I feel bad for Lovey, but I'm going ballistic because it's Devin. But hate on the Bucks no more. New jerseys, new team, new tight end, new coach. Man, it's looking good. Also, fair warning to anyone who's planning their draft this year. As I predicted, you should not draft Lamar Jackson because he has been hit with a Madden curse.
I saw that. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Be on
Don't
the
do
cover.
it. Yep. We all know Patrick Mahomes broke the curse last year. Still don't do it. Don't do
Right.
it. It's not worth it.
So we have the draft, and did we all end up doing the Wonderlic? We talking about
I
that?
didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do
Aw,
Ah, come on.
it. You want me to pretend like I did it? I'll pretend.
no.
I
Take
got
it right now.
Lovie Smith for coach of the. Got nothing. What was it? I didn't have time. What was the test like?
I've done it, I think, before. It was, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It was, it was like English questions, math questions, just
Logic.
yeah.
It's like a mini IQ test or something.
Oh, interesting. The Wonderlic.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of coming back to me. It's like it's like an aptitude test, right?
Yeah. It's the one that the NFL players take.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I think the Wonderlic is taken by other people too, right?
Yeah, but that's what it's most known for.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. I'll take it.
All right.
I'll probably get like low in the 30s or something. I have no idea.
No, average is
It's great.
20. Average is 20.
Oops.
You basically get a point per question, and there's only been one NFL quarterback ever who's gotten a 50.
Really?
Yeah, some rookie from 1975 who I've never heard of.
I can just take it live now. How many questions are there?
Sure. You get 12 minutes.
12 minutes for 50 questions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you could, it'll be skewed though if you do it now because there's too much stuff going on.
Okay. I'll take it later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thought there was more news tonight. You guys, sorry, I was distracted by a message I got. You guys talked about Lamar being on Madden.
Just mentioned it. Yeah.
All right. So does that scare you away from Lamar this year?
Yes.
It kind of does me. I'll be honest.
I mean, not really, but I mean, he's going round 3 at highest anyway, so I wouldn't be taking him there. So
I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens if we get to pay leagues. But in the league that I drafted and in our mock draft, he went, I think 11th in both, or 11th in one and 12th in another. So he's going like top of the second round. So that is high.
I have him in a keeper league. I took him in 8th round. I get to keep him for the 8th round. I mean, 8th round, you got to keep him, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
It's him, but see, like I got him, Kamara. It's a stacked league. It's the league I won last. It's him, Kamara, Chubb, Kittle. So I can only keep 2. I think I'm going to keep Kittle and Lamar.
Tell me the ones again.
Chubb, Kittle, Lamar, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, I get to keep 15th round.
Ooh.
Kittle, 14th round.
Nice.
And because I got them off the waiver wire like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And so Chubb I'd have to take in the 1st round. I'm not gonna.
No, it would. I mean, for me, it'd definitely be between Lamar, Kittle, and Kamara.
Yeah, that's who I'm struggling with. But see, I think this year I can get Kamara. I think people are gonna let him drop, so I might just let him go, let him fly.
Yeah, but you would still have to, like, at worst, use a 2nd round pick on him, if not a 1st.
I would have to use a 1st, yeah.
Yeah. And
because most of the running backs are gone, you know?
Yeah. And so, I mean, Kittle, you could still get like in the 3rd, probably, right? Yeah. Or at 2nd at worst, I don't know. Anyway.
How many are allowed to keep in this league?
Only 2.
Only 2? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me. Since I'm a big fan of Alvin Kamara, AK-47.
Yeah.
And Lamar, I worry about. I mean, especially now that he's going to be on Madden. Ooh.
Yeah.
I know there's
Maybe
no real magic or correlation, but there seems to be some kind of weird. It's obviously not a spiritual or magical connection, but there could be some kind of rotational thing, you know?
It's the time off that they take all those pictures. They miss that one day of workout.
No, the way I've explained it before is it's always the people that did so well that year, and so they got regression coming to them, you know?
2020, Patrick Mahomes injures his leg, misses 2 or 3 games, something like that.
Yeah.
2019, Antonio Brown gets frostbite, and then we all know what happened to him. 2018, Tom Brady loses in the Super Bowl to Nick Foles. 2017, Rob Gronkowski breaks which one was that? He broke his leg or his back. Sure. Gronk breaks his back. That is 4 years in a row. And then yes, you could say that Mahomes broke the curse because he won the Super Bowl, but he scared a lot of fantasy owners for being gone for multiple weeks, so that wasn't fun.
So here's a draft question. What's going to happen with quarterbacks? Because a buddy of mine called me today. He does betting a good bit, and he had a betting line where it was over under 4 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. And so my first inclination was, because it was a really good betting line if you took the under, if you said that there were only going to be 3. And I mean, we know Burrow is going to go. We pretty much know Herbert and Tua are going to go. And I thought, like, all the mock drafts I had seen up, till lately had been having Love, in the first round. And once in a while, you'd even see like Eason sneaking up at the bottom of the first round. So I told him at first, like, I mean, that seems like a push at best, that there's no way there's going to be fewer than 4 drafted. But then now I've started to see more people seeming to think that Jordan Love might drop into the second round. So, I didn't really know what to tell him on that, because it's so hard to figure out, like, what's a smoke screen and how do teams really feel about these players. But so, where do you think, do you guys have what's your guess on how this is going to play out in terms of how these quarterbacks go and where they go? And as a last little bit, like, apparently the Giants have been spending a lot of time on Justin Herbert.
Really
weird.
Yeah. So
Jones,
is it just a smoke screen? Are they just trying to get somebody to trade up? I would bet that's what it is. But, it's a new coach. Maybe he says, I don't like what I see in Daniel Jones. The Cardinals just dumped Josh Rosen after 1 year. He was the 10th pick for Kyler Murray, the first pick. We'll dump the 6th pick, Daniel Jones, for the 4th pick, Justin Herbert. I mean, who knows?
Can I tell you that I think Justin Herbert's going to fall maybe into the second round?
Really?
I've been watching like a lot of tape watchers on YouTube, and they're talking about how terrible Justin Herbert can be and how little he improved from year to year compared to someone like Joe Burrow or even Love. They're saying Love is hit or miss, but at least he has. So one person described it as like the difference between talent and skill. And Justin Herbert lacks both, in the sense that he is fairly talented, but he really didn't develop that talent with skill. Like, he didn't work on that talent and hone it. Whereas Love has tons of talent and needs to develop his skill. And Joe Burrow, they were talking about, is like, I didn't realize how ready he is for the NFL. Like, just hard to find flaws with him.
Yeah.
That's really hard. I don't think Herbert's going to fall that far, especially not into the second round. Burrow had probably the greatest year a college quarterback will ever have.
He had a better year than most NFL players.
Oh, yeah. He threw for over 5,000 yards and threw for 60 touchdowns. That's unheard of NFL-wise. College is crazy because you can get 5 touchdowns against Oklahoma, and then next week you can walk into South Main State and get 8 touchdowns in 3 quarters. It's a lot easier to rack up your stats in college. But I would probably, for me, I honestly think, and you said 4 is the line, right, Jared?
Yeah.
4 is the line. So I think those 3 are really, really, really solid, even though I know people are concerned about Tua's injuries. I know people are concerned about Herbert's inconsistencies. And, I mean, Burrow's going 1, so there's that. But I've started to hear some things about Love that aren't great either. I mean, each quarterback has their pros and cons. Like, it's really, really tough to judge, especially when it gets into later rounds, because you got to think that the other 3 are going to go pretty high, because you've got Bengals, Chargers, Dolphins all going super early. But then you got to think, like, later, I mean, Dolphins have another pick if they wanted to wait. I mean, Jaguars have pick 20. But after that, it's just like, do the Saints want to take someone in the first round?
Right.
Are the Patriots really going to take someone in the first round? Later in the draft, it's harder to believe that anyone's going to take a quarterback. Like, after pick 21, I would say it's hard to convince me that a quarterback is going to be taken. But before that, I say 3. Because I think it's a better chance that Love goes early second round than high first round, or late first round, I think. But I don't bet on stuff, so don't take that with a major grain of salt.
Right.
And I mean, in my own mock draft, I had Love going 23, so maybe I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah, it's tough because the other thing too is like there's a little bit of incentive for teams to trade back into the bottom of the first round to get that extra year of, on the contract or on the rookie contract. So that's why like the Ravens traded up a couple of years ago to get Lamar at the end of the first round, the very last pick. So like, that makes it more complicated too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, teams tend to reach for quarterbacks, but it's hard to say. Like Drew Lock was expected to be mid first round pick last year, and he dropped into the second round. So it's really hard to know.
Yeah, I am really liking your guy. What's his name?
Jake Fromm?
No, the other guy.
Jacob Eason.
Yeah, Eason. I am really liking Eason a lot more, and I think he's going to go a lot higher than people are projecting.
Really?
I'm just going off of what people are seeing in tape. These guys are good. They've predicted a lot of stuff that's come true, and they're probably not too far off from any type of evaluator. They're saying the same things. They're talking about the same things any evaluator is looking at. And Eason just comes off as just way more, I don't want to say it's not NFL ready, but it's like ready to adapt, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, he's got just a rocket arm, mean, if there's a team that just falls in love with the arm, and says, hey, we can't teach that, we can teach everything else, then, maybe somebody takes him at the end of the first round. Because right now, people are expecting him to, hardly anyone now is predicting him to go in the first round. I've seen some mock drafts that actually have him going like late in the first round to the Packers. Really? Looking for an Aaron Rodgers replacement.
Eason, I would like.
He does have that Brett Favre-ish arm too.
Yeah. He's very much a sort of a like a Favre, Stafford.
Yeah, Jay Cutler as well, I'd say.
Yeah. I just think it's more than his arm though. It's like his his football acumen, being able to read defenses, being able to adapt to changes in defenses.
Well, and he's, you can also make the argument with him. He's only had basically, 2 years worth of games. His first game of his sophomore year, he got hurt, and so then they let Fromm take over. And then he was out for a year, and then he went to Washington. And so he played as a true freshman at Georgia, and then was out of it for a little while, and then had that year at Washington. But I mean, he was the number one recruit, number one QB recruit out of his high school class, and so he's got tons of potential, but it's just hard to say what it's harder to evaluate him because you don't have as much of a body of work too as a lot of them.
It would be really crazy. I was just thinking about this. What if second round, since they have a lot of everything else, what if Tampa moves up to take Eason and sits him behind Brady for 2 years while he's on that contract?
Tampa moves up to what round? What round?
No, just moves up a couple picks in the second round. Let's just that's where he's predicted to go now.
I'm sorry. What spot? Who would he trade with? They trade with?
I'm just throwing it out there right now.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily saying an individual spot they'd move to, but second round, Bucks take him, sit him behind Brady for his 2-year contract, because by the time that next season would start, Brady would be 45 at that point. So
true. Yeah, it's possible. Though I wonder if the Bucks won't just be all in on getting help for Tom Brady. Maybe that's another Tom Brady stipulation of you can't draft a quarterback to replace me in the first 5 rounds of the draft. Yeah,
because
less fussy Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
Well, because they don't want Gronk taking all those hits, up front. They want to use him, I'm sure, in the offense, especially like you said. That's going to be his safety blanket for sure. It's the only guy he's played with out of all these guys. So he can't be holding the line there with a bunch of scrubs at the on the offensive line. I'm sure they're going to go full offensive. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if they get all these great picks? Because there is really good pickings for offensive line out there.
Oh yeah, offensive line draft.
If they get an awesome offensive line, oh man, they could really be the Golden State Warriors of the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
In 2 years, give them 1 year to gel maybe, and then second year they come back.
And
one more
Brady,
draft to fill any holes.
And then Brady's going to be 43. Time is going to catch up with him.
Yeah. Or maybe already has. We don't know.
As much as we're praising the Bucks right now, I hope I didn't make Ryan mad by talking about that one Devin Hester game. My apologies if you're still watching, Ryan. My apologies. I won't bring it up again.
The thing I really like about this draft for as a Colts fan is the depth of receivers. Oh my goodness. They can get a great second receiver, or they can get a great receiver at the top of the second round. There are so many guys. I'm curious to see how many are going to go in the first round, because some of these mock drafts have 6, 7 guys. I mean, that would be 20% of the first round. Basically, would be receivers, 20 to 25% there, because you've got Lamb, Judy, Ruggs, Jefferson, and then after that, there's a lot of debate about who a couple of those last guys would be, because they evaluate them differently. There's Denzel Mims, there's Michael Pittman, there's Chenault, really probably 2 or 3 other guys that could go. So I'm curious to see who's gonna be there. If you're really gonna have this many receivers go in the first round, if not, man, there's gonna be some talented guys there in the second round.
See, I'm like the complete opposite. This year is gonna be boring as a Bears fan, man. We got 2 second-round picks, and then a third, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh.
Yeah.
And it's we got Khalil Mack out of it, but we need a lot more help. We need a lot more help.
Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, the Bears could, I don't remember. Let's see, what what is their first pick of the second round? Like how far?
Oh my goodness, it's like
Let's
pick
see, 6, 7,
15.
9, 10. Yeah, so it's like so it's I think 43. Looks like it's 43.
Okay.
So so it's the 11th pick of the second round. Yeah, that might be. They could still trade up into the first round potentially if there was someone there that they liked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we can't trade anymore. We've done enough trades. We don't have anything else left to trade.
right.
I mean, you could trade Trubisky.
Who would take him at this point? Everyone's either going to draft their quarterback or they have their quarterback now. It's like, where would we trade him to?
You never know. There might be a coach out there that sees Trubisky is like, I know he was just not very well coached. He's got a great arm. He's got he's a good runner. He'd be a great backup for Drew Brees. But that wouldn't help. So I don't know.
That was my that was my suggestion. Is like if they had lost Taysom Hill, that was my suggestion to sure trade for Trubisky.
He basically is a Taysom Hill, right?
Right.
Not as durable though. Not as durable. Taysom Hill's like a truck.
That's true.
He is.
Yeah. So, a couple other things I've seen about the draft is, one thing was, an NFL GM had told a journalist, I think maybe it was one of the Colts beat writers, that basically he didn't think he had ever seen the mock drafts as wrong as they are this year. That he thought it was going to play out wildly different than
really.
I think so. I think so too. I think people are. I think mock drafts are going just so much based on need and not on talent, and teams will draft talent over need. The mock drafts aren't wrong in terms of this is what this team's biggest need is, but teams don't draft based on that, always. Some
teams do.
Some of them do. Yeah. And especially if they're a contender and they're just a piece or two away. But most of them, a lot of them are going to take the most talented player. Another thing I saw, one of the prop bets that's out there is who's going to be the first receiver taken. And my buddy that I was talking about had bet on CeeDee Lamb. And that's who I would say too, although now, the last couple of days, I've seen articles talking about Henry Ruggs might actually jump Judy and Lamb and go first because teams are looking at not only just his speed, but his catch radius and kind of seeing him as like a Tyreek Hill. So there could be some very interesting turns out of this draft. I wish it was tomorrow. I don't want to have to wait.
I know
2 more days. I'm ready now.
I'm excited. So when are we going to start the stream?
30 minutes before, maybe.
I would say probably. So does it start at 8 Eastern? I guess the coverage starts. I'm not sure. Let's see. We'll have to look it up. Because I imagine the coverage
8 p.m., 11:30 Eastern time, approximately, quote unquote. That's the current schedule.
Wait, say that again.
8 to 11:30.
8 to 11:30. Okay.
8 o'clock. So we
the
start
coverage will start at 7. The draft starts at 8.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to find a place to set up because my wife works in this office until 9. Okay. So want to set up in a place that we won't be disrupted. Is it going to be? How are we streaming it? Are we going to be able to stream it? Is it going to be online?
I don't know if we can actually stream it in our feed. It will be
at least without getting copyright claimed.
Yeah. I don't care if we get a copyright claim. It's not like we got ads running on our thing.
Yeah. As long as they're not gonna as long as we don't already have multiple copyright strikes where they're gonna shut down your channel or something, I guess you could just then. I imagine it will be streamed to where you could just like screen share the feed if we wanted to.
It's on ABC, ESPN, NFL Network, Watch ESPN, and NFL Mobile. Could be interesting.
Well, I would at least want to flash to it every now and then, right? Like we don't need to keep it up the whole time. I think we could alternate between like a board where we have we just put like virtual squares up and with people on it.
Yeah.
And actual I don't know, since it's going to be virtual, I wonder how, I mean, ours might be just as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Oh, there was one of the funny things I saw was like comparing the 49ers GM Lynch, his setup to Dave Gettleman, the Giants GM's setup. Lynch had just multiple monitors, like multiple high def monitors set up, like 5 of them maybe around his desk. He had like 3 landline phones visible, and I think probably cell phones too. And Gettleman had like a 13-inch laptop and his cell phone.
Wow, there you go.
So, yeah, which kind of fits with Dave Gettleman, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see like some of these guys' setups in their house.
Yeah.
Like everybody will just be laughing at what they have.
You know, 1 or 2 of them are just gonna have their cell phones, like hey, set this down, and not all of them are millionaires. Well, maybe they are.
Yeah, probably.
They've got the money. They just may not be like tech savvy enough to
And with COVID, they're not gonna there's gonna be a lot of them that are not gonna have anybody come in.
Well,
right?
that's the thing, is that's what I had read, is that a lot of these GMs were like nervous about having IT guys come in to set this stuff up. So yeah.
I'm excited. Now you got me wanting it to be tomorrow.
Yeah, I wish it was tomorrow, because I'm finally like, I'm just like, I've been ready for like a week. But then especially now talking about it tonight, it's like, man, I'm ready to go.
Oh, we gotta wait one more day. And we gotta get our own setup. It's just like, okay, we got the draft board over here, we got the live chat over here, we got the video here, we got my Madden season over here, and then Taco Bell. There we go. It's just like everything's got to be set up. I don't know. I'm just saying the first thing.
Well, hey, do you want to help me? Do you guys want to help me? I'm thinking about like getting PNG no background cutouts of each one of the top, probably top 20
players. Yeah.
Players. Well, at least the main ones like Judy and Herbert and all these,
Okay.
And then we can just like move them across the screen or something. I don't know. Just like paper pals.
Just walk up to a cardboard cutout of Roger Goodell and just like move it across the back.
Definitely have to have a Roger Goodell.
Oh man!
I have a player RKOing Roger Goodell, like I was talking about with with how they're going to do these virtual intros, and that the players got some say in what their intro was going to be. Like that would have been my first request. Was like, let me RKO Roger Goodell.
That would be fantastic.
just like PS1 era graphics, and like the mouths are moving like this. It's just like flailing everywhere, kind of glitches out.
We could do something like that.
That'd be fun.
With a lot of hard work, which
I
don't know. Now I'm starting to doubt.
I could probably make some draft pictures for the players that I think are going to go like guaranteed. I might be able to make a couple of those.
That's the thing. We know. I mean,
we know Burrow.
Right. We know Judy. We know Lamb.
Well, we know they're going, but we don't know where they're going, is what I mean.
Right, but we just have to have them. Like, I guess we'd have to find them in a suit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we have them. What if we just have them in their college uniforms?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to find everybody in a suit,
especially not a PNG.
and then we just try to somehow like we have like different jerseys and we just tack a jersey onto them, you know, like we tack a Bengals jersey on old Burrow. Oh, I like the alliteration with the Bengals and Burrow.
Well, now there's all kinds of jokes about him, especially with his name being Joe. It's like, and him playing for LSU Tigers and then the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like Joe Exotic, the Tiger King.
Interesting. Do you think are there any tight ends that you think are going to go in the first 3 rounds?
I don't think there's anyone in the
Major.
first round this year.
No.
There's what's his name? Komet. Yeah, the Notre. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Cole Kmet is. I've seen in a lot of mock drafts. He's like projected for like mid-second round. I actually haven't watched any, highlights of him or whatever, but they've had him projected to the Colts in some different ones.
First round? No,
second round.
Okay.
Second round.
Yeah, we're talking about second
Yeah.
round.
Let's see. He's a big kid. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. Yeah,
I would love it if the Bears took him because we just released Trey Burton, and I don't know how many years Jimmy Graham's got left in him.
Maybe they'll trade for OJ Howard.
Now
That could
that
happen too.
would be a great landing spot for him.
Could be, yeah. I don't know. We've had tight end woes ever since Greg Olsen left, and I'm still mad about it.
Yeah. Well, I got to get going pretty soon here. What else do we have to talk about? Let me ask you a question. Burrow, fantasy. What round do you think he's going to go? We know where he's going to go. We know he's going to be with the Bengals. So, what do you think? I think he may be a top 10 rounds type guy. He might go early. He might be kind of like who was that rookie that went high that one year? Was it? It was recently. There was a rookie that kind of went up in the top 10, probably more like 10th or 11th round. But
What position?
quarterback.
I don't remember. I don't think I could justify. I mean, he's going to have weapons around him. He's going to have Mixon. He's going to have AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross. But you don't know if he's going to be starting right away. I would say he will be either undrafted or somebody taken in like the last 3 rounds or something like that. I don't see how you could justify taking him when you've got guys like Daniel Jones and Matt Stafford going in like the 11th and 12th. I would. I just don't think I could justify drafting him.
I could see him going in like 12, 14 team rounds. The thing that worries me is that like in LSU, he had the best season we've ever seen. But he also had Justin Jefferson. He also had Jamar Chase. He also had Clyde, whatever his last name is, because I can't remember, at running back. He was surrounded by like stars, solid offensive line, and a great defense. Like the team overall, I mean, Burrow was incredible, but the team was also great. The Bengals have Joe Mixon, banged up AJ Green.
He's not banged up. He's healed.
Yeah, we say that every year. We say that. Okay, fine. AJ Green, who worries me. I'll say that. AJ Green, who worries me. Tyler Boyd, who's a solid wide receiver, an offensive line that has major question marks, and a defense that isn't much to scoff at. So it worries me how much pressure initially is going to be put on him because especially rookie quarterbacks who are put in bad situations typically don't have a good first year. So I could see him going like 12 team, 14 team, I think it's a stretch if you have him going, especially late. He's like a 15th round pick for me in 10 team leagues. But if you need a backup quarterback, I could see him going late 12, 14 team. It's just the situation. Zach Taylor, maybe he works magic, and maybe the Bengals are bad again.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of what's helped some of these young quarterbacks early on has been, being mobile. And I mean, he's not, he's a solid athlete. Like, he can actually move around pretty well, but he's obviously not Lamar Jackson that's going to get you crazy rushing yards, or even Kyler Murray. So I'm trying to think back to like who was, kind of the last pocket passer quarterback that did well as a rookie, I don't know. I think we got to go back a while for that.
Yeah. A lot of the really good quarterbacks that I think about, I think a lot of them develop more behind someone else, especially when they have time and the quarterback's thrown into young situations. Even if they do grow and do pretty well, it's a rough go of it. Like Lamar is an exception, I think, because he's an exceptional athlete. So that gives him a bonus there. But like you look at other quarterbacks who turned out really great. Brady had Drew Bledsoe in front of him. I mean, obviously Mahomes had Alex Smith in front of him. It just makes me really worried. I don't think first year he should go very high or at all.
Who?
Depending on how many. Burrow this year, very high or at all. I'm not sure, or very low or at all. I'm not sure.
I'm just wondering if he might be a sneaky, like, okay, so if nobody's going to draft him, I think he might be like a good little backup, 11th round. Most people are getting kickers. You grab Burrow and just see what happens with him, even if he doesn't play the first couple of games. I don't know. I've just seen so much. Now, granted, he did have a great team around him, but he still got. The thing that impressed me is he got so many passes into tight little tiny windows. Like, that's what you need to be in the NFL. Well, that and, the guys are a lot bigger. They're about to hit you. You have less time.
Well, and you have better defenders and more complicated defensive schemes,
And he's going to a tough defensive division this year.
Yeah. I think there's just too much of a learning curve to justify taking him over like Matt Stafford, who was having a great year last year up until when he got hurt, or Daniel Jones. I just couldn't do it in a deeper league. If it was a deeper league, 12, 14 team, but not in a 10 team league.
I think for me, it would be if you've got a player if you've got like a solid number one, I'd say, like if I had, let's just say Matt Ryan or something, who I knew was probably going to be, I was 99% sure was going to be really good. I think then I might be willing to take around 15 on Burrow. If I had a really good draft, I had a really solid quarterback, yeah, why not take a risk on Burrow if I'm feeling good about my team? But other than that, especially as a starting quarterback, that's a lot of question marks for me.
No, I'm not saying as a starting quarterback. If you take him in the later rounds, he doesn't have to be your starting quarterback. I don't think anybody's going to take him, right? I don't know.
Somebody. I mean, in some leagues, some guys are going to draft him, but
I'd be willing to take a Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow bet.
That Burrow had more fantasy points than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Do it now, you and Jared.
I've got to make sure that Justin Herbert doesn't get drafted by the Giants. If they don't draft Justin Herbert, then we'll do it. But that's my
no. You got to do it now or never.
Well, you don't sound don't sound too confident in that thing.
I'm not, but I'm willing to risk it.
I don't think they're going to take Herbert, so sure. Let's do it.
All right.
There it is. Burrow versus Daniel Jones. 3 rounds: points, yards, touchdowns. There you go.
What?
Yeah, that's how we always do our bets.
No.
Yeah.
We're just talking about overall points.
All right, then we will take out the yards and touchdowns part.
I mean, if you have more yards, you're probably gonna have more points.
There you go. Well, not necessarily, because especially with running backs, you saw Zeke got 1,600 yards last year, but then he barely got any touchdowns.
I just like how, last year we were so focused on me beating Judah in running back predictions. I just like that we're expanding to other positions here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can come up with a tight end one too.
Well, you seem to really like Gronk. You're talking about Gronk number 5. I'll take any of those.
I don't really like Gronk.
Take Evan Ingram.
me putting Gronk up that high was nothing to do with Gronk. It was just about the fact that after those first 4 tight ends, it's just Hunter Henry is injury prone and he may start the year with Tyrod Taylor. Darren Waller had 3 touchdowns and now he's got Jason Witten there. Just Austin Hooper went from Atlanta to Cleveland. Every guy has some kind of thing where you can be like, I have no idea what he's going to do this year. So, I have no confidence in Gronk doing that well.
I will say I like Jared Cook, though. I think he's probably the safest bet out of all of the other tight ends.
I think he's got a great floor because he's going to catch touchdowns. He's the only Michael Thomas is a solid guy in terms of size. I was going to say he's the only big target, but Thomas is big. But I was looking through because Cook did get off to a slow start. That was part of his problem, that his overall stats didn't look better. But even late in the season, there were a handful of games where he only had 2 targets and he caught both of them and he caught a touchdown. And so his numbers look pretty good, but 2 targets. So, I don't know.
But that's any of these guys after the top 3. That's just same thing.
Right.
He's probably the safest bet out of all of the second tier tight ends.
Maybe so. Although I think Hurst. I like Hurst.
I agree with Hurst
because Matt Ryan loves to throw to his tight end. Hurst,
and he's a beast.
He's a beast. He was a former first-round pick. He's in his 3rd year, which is where tight ends really kind of start to break out. I really like him this year in Atlanta. So I could make a case for Hayden Hurst as the number 5 overall tight end. It's just after Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Ertz, it's just it's almost like the quarterbacks in this draft. It's just the beauty's in the eye of the beholder there. It's all about your evaluation of their talent and situation.
Agreed. All right. Well, that's the 5th awkward silence. Should we?
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing else. I'm just ready for the draft.
Any hot takes for the draft? Hot takes. That's way too hot. I've got one. I already named a couple. I think there's going to be a running back in the first round.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's going to be Taylor.
Oh yeah.
I think it's top 10.
Whoa. Okay, that's a hot take.
Extremely hot.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep. I think he's going to go to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Really? Pick? What do they have?
No,
6.
I'll bet you on that one.
Or the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, these are just hot takes. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm not I think Jackson. Now that I know about Leonard Fournette,
that makes more sense.
That would be a nice little landing spot for him.
See, I think he's gonna. I think there'll be 2 running backs taken in first round between Swift and Taylor, because both of them. basically. But that early though, especially when the Jaguars have problems like everywhere on their team, like everywhere else, there's a hole. It's like there's a hole in the bottom of
that is
Jacksonville
true.
or something like
That
that.
is true.
Just like that's the thing that only works. Because otherwise, I think that's a pretty good hot take. But that's it.
Let's see. I'll give a couple of ones. I'll say, I think Isaiah Simmons could be the number 3 overall pick.
Okay.
People are projecting Detroit to take that cornerback.
Okuda.
Jeff
Yeah.
Okuda.
Yeah. Simmons is kind of just like widely viewed as the best defensive player, probably the best athlete, period, in the draft.
He's a
And
linebacker.
people are sliding him down to like 6, 7, 8, 9, because they're drafting or they're mocking based on need. I mean, Detroit needs more than, it's not like they're a cornerback away. So why not? Why not just take the best player? Shutdown corners don't seem to be as valuable as they once were,
Or they're valuable for a shorter period of time.
They're valuable for a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
And you just don't see teams like winning with them. I mean, you just don't see. I mean, the Patriots kind of make it work because of their defensive scheme and stuff. But like just a shutdown corner, how many times have you seen? How many times have we seen a team win a Super Bowl with a shutdown corner lately? So I think, I mean, if Simmons is the best player, take him at the 3rd pick, and then he can kind of he could be like a Luke Kuechly for your defense, like they had in Carolina.
I see that.
So the other thing is, I will say, of course, this is like a long-term prediction here. I'll say that maybe let's see, how high do I want to go on this? I'll say 3rd best. I don't know if I want to go 2nd best or not, but maybe the 3rd best quarterback out of this draft class ends up being Jake Fromm.
Let's go. All right. I'm excited about that one.
I like that one. I actually think Jake Fromm's going to go higher than people think.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I mean, he's just, he's a smart guy. He's
good leader.
Good leader. Yeah. Great intangibles. And so people are like comparing him to Chase Daniel. Like, well, he could be Chase Daniel, but what if he's like Kirk Cousins with better leadership skills? Yeah. Or like a, mini Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees is a very lofty, comparison, but even if he's like just better than Kirk Cousins, look at how many years Cousins has been a starter. Look, if he's just better than Andy Dalton, look at how many years Andy Dalton's been a starter. So I think he can do that. I mean, so
what team does he play with?
What college you mean?
Yeah.
He came out of Georgia.
Oh, he's a Georgia guy. Oh, that's why you like him.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could. I mean, he's in a competitive division or whatever you call it.
The most competitive conference in
Yeah,
football.
conference.
Take it, Big Ten. Yeah, most competitive conference in football.
Yeah, I would be. I don't know, if he's going to go 2nd round, 3rd round. I would be completely good with the Colts taking him in the 3rd round. Their mid-2nd round pick, maybe. But I would be happy if they ended up with him. I would be very happy if they ended up with him with their third round pick.
What's interesting to me is I heard somebody say this, and I mean, you guys know more about this than I do, but I really respect this guy who said it. He said that after you get past Tua and Burrow, it's sort of a crapshoot who is better than the next guy. And people, because this is the guy who also hates Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that everybody out the top two. So what if there's only two taken? It seems to me if I was a coach and I'm looking at, and if I don't get Burrow or Tua, I'm not going to waste my pick on just one of these random guys that may or may not has terrible flaws. It may be that these other second tier quarterbacks fall, and you see the second round be a huge or third round be a huge quarterback bonanza.
I mean, anything's possible. That's why I was telling my buddy, I would never want to bet on the NFL draft, because unless you have like connections to people within teams, within front offices, like how do you ever predict that? The mock
You got to be
draft
a mind reader.
Right. So, I mean, that's possible, I mean, Drew Lock slipped last year, but then, you have years where, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Lamar all go in, 5 guys go in the first round, and then the best one out of all of them goes with the last pick of the first round. So, it's just so hard. I've seen a couple of stats that are kind of scary on Herbert and Love, where it was like, I tried to look it up a second ago, but I wasn't putting the right words into Twitter to find it. But it was basically the percentage of passes that they missed between, like, I don't remember what it was, like 5 to 15 yards. If they and they weren't under pressure or anything like that, and like all the other quarterbacks that were considered to be like first or second round picks, their percentage was usually, I think, within like 5% or lower, and Herbert and Love were both in like the 15 to 20% range of where they just like threw an uncatchable ball in the 10-yard range, so. Yeah, it's scary. And like the Colts, the Colts had the 13th overall pick. They need a quarterback. Herbert could have been there. Love could have been there. Even if they weren't, maybe they could have, slipped to 8, 9, 10, somewhere that wouldn't have been like cost prohibitive to trade up several spots to get them. They didn't do that. They traded the 13th pick away to get a great defensive tackle. I mean, regarded as one of the, maybe the third best defensive tackle in the league. Mm-hmm. And that's an important position. But if you think that your franchise quarterback's there, you don't do that deal. You keep that pick. So I think that says a lot about at least what they thought of those quarterbacks. And so then you got to start wondering, like, okay, do other people feel a similar way?
Was it on here that we talked about a lot of people backing off of Tua? That's was it you? One of you guys that talked about that?
I can't
remember. Did I read that? Maybe
I've read that too.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was last week we talked about it.
Okay, so that's also interesting. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, because you brought it up, AJ. Because we were talking about maybe he's not as healed as we thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and also because I remember Jared was like, well, it's still one of those things. It's like NFL coaches say, but is this like Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals, etc.? We don't know who's saying it though.
That is true.
Yeah, there's so much misinformation, because you think about where all the misinformation is coming. You can have GMs saying certain things to throw you off of what they want to do. They can be saying things, maybe trying to influence other GMs, like put doubts in their mind or make them overvalue certain players or whatever. You've got, I think, where a lot of this stuff comes from. I can't remember if it was Colin Cowherd or I heard someone talking about this the other day, that, usually like the leak stuff is coming from agents. If it's anything positive about a player, like, oh, teams really like this player, well, that's not coming from the teams. Like, the teams don't want it to get out if they like a guy. They want to keep that secret. So it's coming from the agent trying to drum up buzz for his player. So So yeah, I don't know how you parse all that out because there are just too many moving parts to it. I mean, you get teams where the owners are more involved and the owners want someone, and you get teams where the coach is more in control and he wants someone. You get the GM or the GM that's willing to defer more to his scouts, and then the player evaluations and the team needs, and so it's like the little GIF or GIF of where the person's like seeing all the numbers and they're like trying to figure out this equation, and there's just like really without being on the inside of it, it's just impossible to do it. And that's why the mock drafts, usually after you get past the first, 2, 3, maybe 5 picks, are just always just consistently wrong,
And who knows how many people are going to trade down, and that just throws a whole wrench into it's like a whole new team is in that spot.
Yeah, the Patriots have been big on trading down. The Colts, they like to trade down and pick up more picks. Last year,
approach.
Yeah,
the smart teams use the Moneyball approach.
Well, it's like this year, the Colts have the second pick of the second round because they traded down from like, what were they? I'm trying to think what they were like. They were somewhere in the 20s a couple years ago because they did pretty well that season with Andrew Luck. And so then they traded down from like 25, 26 or something like that into the second round. Washington gave up their second round pick this year to move up to that spot. And that second round pick turned out to be the second pick of the second round. So, I mean, that's, you almost have a first round pick for moving down whatever it was, 10 spots, 15 spots, whatever. So that's very much worth it this year in such a deep draft.
Yeah.
So, but I hope they don't move down again. I hope they stay there and get a good receiver. So
I think the one really interesting. Sorry. You
no. I had nothing. I was just wrapping that thought up.
I think the really strange thing about the draft this year, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, is that it's like every quarterback has one thing that they're just great at, but then they have one thing that just kills their draft stock, except Burrow. It's like Tua's an incredible athlete, but he gets injured all the time.
Yep.
Fromm's an incredible leader, but he completely lost his consistency last year. Jordan Love's a natural passer, but he was completely erratic. Plus, he played in the Mountain West with Utah State. So, I mean, who knows what kind of competition he had. It's like every quarterback, you're taking a risk. It's like a boom or bust every single time.
Yeah.
Now, you guys know this stuff better than I do. Was Tua, was he way better than Joe Burrow? Because I'm watching tape of Joe Burrow just thinking, this guy's
at the beginning
really
of
good.
the year, Tua, it was like everyone's like, okay, Tua is going to be Heisman. Tua is going to be the best player.
I know everybody said that, but like, did you guys watch him play?
Yeah.
Was he really that good?
Yeah. He was an incredible athlete, especially the year before he got injured. He was really, really good then. But then when Jalen Hurts took over in the College Football Playoff Championship, and then second year they were like, all right, now he's healthy, return to form, he'll be even better this year, and we all know what happened.
Yeah, if he had been healthy, I don't know. Like if he had been healthy and played out the year, I think it would be like a hard conversation about who would go first, him or Burrow. But Burrow might still, with the year that he had. I don't know. I don't know how that would shake out, but I think part of it too was like people were expecting to be the number one pick this year coming into the season because no one was expecting Joe Burrow to come out of nowhere and do what he did at LSU. And so people thought it was going to be like Tua number one and then Herbert number two or something like that. And then, Burrow just came out of kind of nowhere. So, but
LSU kind of came out of nowhere as a whole.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought so too, man. I thought maybe I was just because I just tuning in, at the bar or something, looking at the thing and saying LSU. wow, I really am out of it, you know?
Yeah, I wasn't until they went into Alabama and beat Alabama.
Yeah.
I was still like, okay, but can they really beat Alabama? And so then when Joe Burrow went in there and did that to Alabama and carved them up, I'm like, oh, okay, he's for real. Yeah.
He outgunned Tua, even though Tua threw for more yards.
Yeah, in Alabama.
And then, well, my final question is this. Because you look at all those players on LSU, you look at still a lot of players left in Alabama.
Oh, tons.
Is next year going to be a bonanza? And this year is actually just everybody should just trade for next year's picks. Because look at quarterback next year, running back. It just seems like it's a stacked group of kids coming out next year.
I think this year, especially when it comes to wide receiver and offensive line, it's like completely stacked. So if you need that, this is a good year to take them. And then next year, it's possible because you've got guys like, what's his name? Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson. You've got.
Thanks for Trevor.
Sorry, Jared, help me out here. I'm blanking on Justin Fields. Justin Fields out of Ohio State. You've got both of them coming out next year if, the season even happens. But like we said earlier, teams jump the gun when it comes to quarterbacks. That's what they do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because you've got those two coming out next year, but like with Lawrence, if you don't get the number 1 overall pick,
right, that's
true. You're almost certainly not going to get him. There's actually another guy that I'm kind of interested in to see, sort of a Jordan Love type, sort of a Patrick Mahomes type. He's coming out of North Dakota State, where Carson Wentz played. His name's Trey Lance.
Yeah,
and he looks like a stud. So I think like if he has another season where he develops, then maybe he ends up being the number 2 guy ahead of Fields, or who knows. No one expected Joe Burrow to come out of nowhere and jump Tua for the number 1 pick. Maybe Trey Lance jumps Trevor Lawrence for the number. Crazier things have happened. So I'm curious to see where some of those guys go. But it's so hard to predict. Like if you wait on a quarterback, like you don't know what kind of season you're going to have next year. You don't know where you're going to be drafting. You don't know where the top guys are going to be going. Is there going to be better value in a guy who slips to the middle or the first or bottom of the first or top of the second? Or is there going to be a guy there who's going to be a better value than the guys this year? Or are you just as well off to go ahead and take a chance on one of those?
Yeah.
And then if you get them and it doesn't pan, now we're to the point, like we were saying, where, Josh Rosen, 10th overall pick, suddenly then 1 year later, the Cardinals gave up on him and took another guy, number 1 overall. So, the door is now open that if you draft a guy at 15, 20, 25, and you get him in for a year and you're like, I don't know really what we've got here. And then you get a high pick. Well, just take another one. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the mentalities are. And then again, and then can you imagine if the Giants then took Justin Herbert? Which I can't imagine that they would do that. I can't imagine he would be they would look at him as some sort of significant can't miss prospect that would be an upgrade over Daniel Jones. That seems crazy, but who knows?
Didn't they? They took Daniel Jones with like the 4th pick.
I think it was 6.
Sixth pick. Yeah,
I believe it was 6. Yeah. So
it's not like they don't have a track record.
He was the pick 6.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But but they didn't have another guy, they had Eli who was at the end of his career. And so then to take another, then to take the 4th overall pick, I just can't imagine that they would do that.
Yeah,
so
that would be pretty weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there's not even a season next year, like it's not even I hadn't even thought about what if there's not even a college season next year? That's going to throw all of what if the coaches are thinking about that right now and So what if that's a bigger part of the calculus than we can even imagine? If they're thinking, okay, wait, if there's not a season next year, what will happen to Trevor? Will he just?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that they would still like allow the guys who should have had their what would have been their third season what to advance to the draft. Like I think colleges would give them the option of coming back another year of eligibility while the draft while the NFL would say, okay, it's okay, you can come on. So
That would be fascinating.
it would, because,
Wow.
guys like Lawrence and Fields, it's going to probably make sense for them to just go on to the NFL. Some other guys that haven't had as much of a chance to prove themselves, maybe it makes more sense, to go back. College, I don't know what's going to happen. I think the NFL season will happen.
There's too much money on the line for it not to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think just having a little bit of time, between now and then to maybe figure out some policies, maybe, testing, maybe players get tested every week. Maybe players get tested every week.
I'm not so much worried about the players. It's the fans.
But I don't think there will be fans. I think they play the games without fans because 60,000 people in a state. I mean, that's just the worst possible. Like there's, what was it? There's been a couple of things like in Italy, I think the place that was hit hardest was one where they had a soccer game.
Oh, yep, I remember that.
And it spread around there. In I think it's Indiana, where they had a regional basketball. I think it was high school, like regional game or tournament. Like it spread there, and I think ended up killing several people. I cannot imagine that they play the season with fans unless something drastic happens. But so much money comes from the TV deals, that they could do it that way. But, NFL players, I mean, they're paid to do this. College players.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking college is a little bit more up in the air.
I think it's more up in the air. Yeah, I think the NFL season happens. College, I don't know about. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, what a time to be alive. No offense to the people that have died.
Georgia's now we're the canary in the coal mine.
No, Texas is going to open up a bit earlier than them.
I mean,
Georgia's just opening up a few. Texas is going to open up a lot more.
No, Georgia's opening up basically everything by Monday.
Oof.
Really?
My goodness.
Because that's what I was joking about earlier was like.
Was AJ? I don't think AJ was on when we were talking about it.
Oh, he may not have been. But yeah, no, like starting out Friday, Georgia opens back up. Like barbershops, nail salons.
Wow.
Gyms.
What?
Yeah. Let's see. Hang on. I had the timetable. Okay, here it is. So so Friday, Georgia opens up gyms, salons, nail salons, bowling alleys, and then Monday, theaters, restaurants for in person or in dining in restaurants, private social clubs. So yeah, all that Monday, and then I think like basically like your retail stores and stuff. I don't know which day those fall into, but I think those fall in with it. So basically, we're just opening everything up.
I mean, like look, guys. You talk about like it's crazy, but I have several clients that work in grocery stores, and every week I ask them how many people have gotten COVID, in this grocery store that work here. Like so far, one.
Well, I'm not talking about like opening up is crazy. I think what's crazy is to think that everything's going to open up and then it's just going to go back to normal. Like,
No, it's not going to go back to normal. Look, just because it's opening up doesn't mean people aren't going to social distance. People are going to be scared as heck.
I don't mean
doing that.
I don't mean just social distance. I mean like people, like you look at stuff like, in-person dining, travel, flights and stuff like that. I mean, I think people are just not there's going to be a chunk of people, let's say 25% minimum, that are just not going to do that. And so you're going to have all this open back up. But if we're being generous and saying that your business is going to be 75% of what it was, you're taking a 25% hit. That's still a massive hit for any industry. So, I mean, it just seems like we're kind of like, okay, just get it back open, as opposed to focusing on like, getting testing more widespread and stuff like that. I just, unless you can give people more assurance that it's okay, I think even with the stuff back open, a lot of these places, now people are going to get their hair cut and stuff like that, but a lot of these places are still going to be suffering tremendously.
I don't know. I'm sure, but I stood in line for 20 minutes at Chipotle the other day. There was enough people in that line to fill the Chipotle.
In the driver's line or actually inside the building?
No, outside the building. We're all waiting. Okay. Some people to pick up, some people to give their orders. We're all social distancing. Most people had masks. I mean, I don't see why that can't happen just inside the building. I don't know why. And the other thing is,
because you're touching, but I mean, yeah, they're going to sanitize stuff, but you're touching surfaces and you're breathing air that's like in a confined space. So
yeah, but like, how much worse is it? Like, I go into the grocery store and there's no social distancing going on in there. People are brushing against me. I'm handing stuff to an old lady that doesn't have gloves on. I'm like, dang, dude, it's, lady, that's
right.
Got some balls, but I probably wouldn't do it. And I'm pretty anti-social distancing, but
you're anti-social distancing
for me. I everybody to their own, but I don't social distance. I work at a place that we have at least 4 people at a time in enclosed area. We had somebody come down with COVID, and she was working there with us, and she's fine now. She got through it. I just like, places can function as long as you take certain steps, like I'm much more for social distancing if we're going to come back,
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think, I don't know. It seems like, you're sort of, you base your sort of off of your personal experience, as opposed to, it seems difficult to, especially with it being a new virus. I don't really need the whole screen for this, but I feel very on the spot. I hate it almost as much as Judah does. But like if you look at just like the overall number, I think there's a couple of things for me is like the overall numbers, and people have been like, well, the flu kills more people. Well, it number one, it doesn't. 2,
right.
The numbers are only about on par. It's past the flu already, but you look at flu season really starts in November, and then by December it's peaked. But the peak then it's like December, January, February, March. Like the flu season is for months. It just goes on and on. And this has already done more damage in like 6 weeks than than the flu has. So the other thing too is like there's just so much like weird stuff with it where it does seem to hit like certain areas. And I wonder if we're going to find out that, even though they say that there are multiple strains, but that one isn't worse than the other, I don't know. It seems like, this gets in certain spots, and you look at like what it's done to New York City. And you can say, okay, well, New York's kind of its own thing. All those people, packed into one area, but then it'll get into like little small towns and do the same thing. Like we had an outbreak in, I think it's Albany, Georgia, where a bunch of people got it from attending a funeral and spread it. There was four workers at a Tyson plant, Tyson chicken plant in Georgia. 4 workers died from it at that plant. And so that's the scary part about it is like, I was telling somebody like, hey, do you remember that winter where 4 of your coworkers died from the flu? Me neither, because that kind of thing doesn't happen like that. So
right. I'm not saying it's not a wicked virus, but the problem is we can't stop viruses. We can't cure viruses. It's going to spread. And this one is particularly virulent. Like it's particularly contagious.
Right. And that's part of the issue. Yeah.
And you're the one who has actually influenced my opinion the most by pointing out what they did in that Rachel Maddow clip. The only real testing that works is that whole system that he talks about, the fever, the fever, the blood test. There's one more step there. I can't remember, but, and then taking them away from the family. That's just not going to work here. All the tests that we have, the swabs and stuff, the best swab test is 30% accurate. 30%. That's abysmal. And when you don't have accurate testing, you might as well not have testing. You just look at somebody and guess, you probably get better. I
don't know about that. Well, I don't remember, like it's been so long since I shared that clip. I don't even remember, was their testing system different from what we're doing?
Yeah. Well, no, the difference is the mobile testing and the hospital testing. So like you can do tests at home and stuff like that. You got swabs and stuff like that. But really the only testing that really works, is the CT scan, is fever, blood test, CT scan. Like that, you get certainty, and that's what they did. That's what they're still doing in China and in Korea. Now they're starting to let them out, but there's no way we're going to get to that. And even if we do, say we do, okay, and we're able to blood test everybody. Well, blood tests take at the least 3 days to process for each person. Right. What is that person doing during that 3 days? It's like people keep talking about tests, but I don't think you're the one who opened up my eyes to why. I'm like, I kept thinking, why are these tests? Why don't we have more tests? But I saw what they're doing in Korea and China. I was like, well, there's no way we can do that for 300 million people.
Right.
It's just, we can't do that. And people say, well, we're America. Oh, there's limits,
Right.
And then the worst part is if you test somebody and they're not positive, testing negative people, it's like you have to test them again. And then you have to test them again until you get a positive.
You mean long term, is that what you mean? Like
if you're trying to find, who has it and who doesn't.
Right.
You can't just test somebody. Okay. You don't have it for the rest of your life. Like you have to keep coming back to that person and testing them, if we want to get every single person or most people or a lot of people,
right.
Especially since people are asymptomatic. What they're talking about is doing a random sample of testing people. And you're going to get a lot of negatives. And if it's 30% accuracy, like you don't know if that's a positive, negative. We'll go with it. It's negative. We got to test them again, Now,
are you talking about that for like the swab where they stick it behind your brain more or less? Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'd have to go and look. I hadn't seen that about the 30% accurate. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. These are just my thoughts on it. But I wanted to say it because you're really the one, like I've really appreciated that clip you shared with me, because I don't think anybody knows when people talk about testing, they just assume it's like here and you have it, you don't,
Oh yeah,
like
right. Yeah.
litmus test or something.
Right.
You just can't do that with any kind of virus, much less this crazy virus we barely know anything about.
Yeah. That's always been the problem that I've seen with testing, which I think I've been pretty familiar with it, but yeah, I haven't seen. I'm now curious to read up because I hadn't seen the part about the accuracy rate being that low. But I have had the thought of like, since you can't test everyone at one time, it's not like, a classroom of kids that you can all send them in to like get checked for lice, at one time. You could test somebody and then they're negative, and then they get back out and have an interaction 2 hours later with someone who is positive, who hasn't been tested. And then suddenly so that to me is the difficulty of it. Yeah. Because you can't do it all at one time.
At once. Yeah. And with 300 million people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure the federal government now is looking at it and like, they're like, yeah, we're going to test. It's like trying to nail down a viral video, It's like, hey, we got to stop this viral video. It's like, okay, yeah, go try, it's
right.
It's near impossible. And I'm wondering if that's what people aren't getting about the testing, like, because everybody's talking about, we need more testing. Nothing has convinced me yet that we could actually test. I think they did a good job of it in China and in North Korea and in, South Korea. Yeah. And Singapore, because these are small, well, Korea and Singapore are small places. China is freaking dictatorship.
that little nation of China.
But it's like
I know what you mean, though,
yeah. And it's, so I think we could try to do it here, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We're going to have to come up with something though.
I'll find that link for you. It was like health. I can't remember.
The link about the
30%
accuracy rate. Okay. Well, I mean, I can just Google it, but
what happened to AJ? He hated that.
He ducked out. He didn't want in on this virus.
Did he leave us?
Virus today. No, I don't know where.
No, I'm right there.
What do you think, AJ?
I mean, y'all are more knowledgeable about it than I am. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't think anything's going to go back to normal for a long time.
Really?
Even now, I mean, because even I feel like you have like two sections of people. You have the people who are going to be wary about it and are still going to let it sit for like a month and a half or two or whatever. And then you're going to have the people that are just like, I'm free. And then those are the people that are going to be outside. Like as soon as the door is open, those are the people that are going to be outside. So it's going to be a while, I think, before the world gets back to normal. And I mean, I'm still stuck here in Judah Buddha and I are still stuck here in Illinois, or at least you get to get out of the house though. But I'm still stuck for another couple weeks. So, I mean, it's not going to be normal for a while, I don't think. There's going to be a lot of fear, I think, afterwards, especially in the U.S., just of any remnant of the coronavirus. And we haven't even found, like, a main treatment for it or whatever. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be a while before things go back to the new normal, or however you want to put it.
Yeah, that is an interesting question of like, even if we just like everything opened up,
would people actually go?
Yeah, and that's part of what I'm talking about is like, movie theaters, restaurants, flights. I mean, like I would have no trouble like going to a mall. Like even though there's a ton of people in a mall, it's not like it's not
interacting a lot with them or something.
You're not, like I mean, if it's in the air and you somehow breathe it, but like I went to the mall of Georgia, like I think it was like a week before, because I knew this was going to come, like everything was just going to shut down, and I'm like, I'm going to the mall because I'm not going to be able to go to a mall for who knows how long, and so I went and got a couple of Funko Pops and stuff like that. So that was
nice.
Risking my life for. No, it wasn't that bad in Georgia at that time at all. But I knew this was coming, so I went and I just didn't touch anything. Like I didn't touch anything. I mean, if it's in the air and I stayed away from people, and I mean, if if I stay 10 feet from people and I don't touch anything and I still somehow get it, I mean, like, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would have less trouble going somewhere like that where you've got automatic doors and I can only touch, the products that I'm going to buy. And I can, there's these wide spaces of where I can walk around people. But like, I wouldn't want to get on a flight. I wouldn't really want to sit down in a restaurant where they can't wipe down every single surface. I wouldn't want to really sit in a movie theater, with people nearby. So, but like when the barbershops and stuff open up Friday, I'm going to like try to go early and get my hair cut.
Oh, there's going to be a huge line, bro.
Well, I mean, I'm in a rural area but
true,
if I go right when they open up, I mean, I can probably get in and then just like get in before the asymptomatic COVID, hopefully get in before the asymptomatic COVID-19 carriers come through, and then I'm good for another 4 weeks, 5 weeks or something like that on haircut. The only thing for me will be like I like going to the gym. And that's one of the worst, that's one of the worst places, of like equipment.
I don't know, because you can, like, when I go, I wipe everything down, and they hand out like disinfectant wipes and towels and water.
Yeah, but you do have people like breathing pretty heavy in the gym.
True.
So
that is true.
yeah, I don't know about that. That one's going to be the real struggle for me. Otherwise, like all the big movies have been canceled for the summer.
Yeah, movies aren't going to be a thing.
So I'm not going back to the theater. I don't need to do dine-in, at a restaurant. So I'm not going to do that. And so nothing's going to dramatically change for me apart from that dilemma over the gym. And so that's why I'm just wondering, like, again, you look at like if the poll numbers are right, 65% of people are in favor of the measures of basically of pretty strict measures. And so even if you say those numbers are off and it's only 30% of people or something like that, again, that's going to be such a huge hit to those industries that in order to bring them back, we're going to have to figure out something beyond just opening them up,
Yeah, absolutely. I was wrong, by the way. They give a false positive 30%, or false negative. They give a false negative 30% of the time. Okay.
That's better, because I'm going to say, good grief, if the testing rate, if the success rate of that is 30%, then that's almost even worth.
I misread that when I first read it, because that freaked me out. I'm like, but still, a false negative 30% of the time, every third one.
Almost, yeah. That is weird. I'm not sure why it would. I guess maybe it does that because the cold is, again, I guess a type of coronavirus. I'm not sure why it would do that. I'm not sure about the details of the testing, but still, though, I mean, if it's erring on the side of, I think it would be worse if it was missing it. Like if it's saying that you have it, then at least you can get tested again. I wonder then.
It's a false 30% of the time. Okay, coronavirus may give false negative 30% of the time. So
okay. So that is
telling you don't have it.
So that is really a problem then. Yeah. That's a problem. That's a bigger problem. Because if it was a false positive, then they could test you again. And then if it comes back, then again. But yeah, if it's a false negative, that's more.
Then they say you don't have it. And you go out like, let's kiss.
Yeah. Well, that's not ideal, but.
He's gone again. Where did he go? He disappeared. I gotta go myself. I appreciate though a place to talk about it with you guys. Without, I feel like this has been a real.
You don't enjoy getting shouted down by Ford?
I enjoy that too, but I don't enjoy talking to people that, although sometimes Ford does do this, but I don't enjoy talking to some friends that are just condescending like the whole time, like on Facebook. These are just my thoughts. Like, you don't have to call me a retard, like,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, I can be condescending on some things, but this, I mean, like, I get that I get condescending on stuff like the conspiracy theories of like, oh, it came from such and such. Like, we're never gonna know. It could be that, but we're never gonna know. Nobody's gonna be held accountable. It doesn't matter. It's here. We just have to deal with it. So all the stuff like Bill Gates, I sure, is it possible? Sure. But we'll never know. So it doesn't really matter. So, but in terms of like what we need to do about it. Yeah. I don't condescend with people on that, because it is like a complicated subject and the world hasn't figured it out. The only thing I get irritated with people on is they're like, when people are like, oh, no, I know better of, what we need to do. And like, well, every world government, all the way down to like your local physician, will say this is a pretty big deal. So you can say that maybe they've gotten some things wrong, but
yeah, it's just, I mean, we've yet to see anybody get anything right.
What do you mean?
I mean, who's figured out how to stop it?
Well,
the local conspiracy theorists might have more of an idea than anybody so far.
They don't. I'm pretty sure they do not. That is one thing I'm pretty confident about is, but yeah, I don't know. It's
actually
definitely.
the people I think have got it the best have been Sweden, but of course that's controversial. Because, I mean, they have more death rates than us, but it's starting to plateau and go down, and they don't have to worry about a resurgence.
I'll have to read up on that too.
Because they just did social distancing, no shelter in space, or shelter in place, whatever it's called.
So why don't they have to worry about a resurgence then?
Because they don't have people in their house not exposed to it. Everybody's, like, we have to really worry about a resurgence because there's tons of people that have not even been out and about exposed to it. You know what I mean? There's lots of people that haven't had it.
But what's the percentage of Sweden that's had it?
Lots.
I'm gonna look that
But
up.
of course, they're a lot smaller though.
Yeah.
They're tiny. They're the size of probably like Texas or something. So, population-wise, who knows? But it's interesting. And I appreciate you guys talking about it. It's hard to, everybody shuts me down lately when I start talking about it.
Well,
it's probably stress, a lot of it, probably for some people.
I also have like what I've seen of Ford's stuff to compare it to. So if you're not like, it's like you're like the sub boss. You're like the sub boss as opposed to like the final boss when it comes to like, debating COVID-19.
AJ, we're gonna have to introduce you to. Are we still live? Oh, I forgot.
We're still alive. You
Yeah.
can't end that sentence. We were introduce you to Ford because no, we can't introduce him to Ford.
Why not? Ford doesn't like football, so I don't know.
What? No. That's depressing.
I'm so disappointed that he doesn't want to take me up on my offer. But
how do you know he doesn't?
Oh, because he said. well, and then he backtracked off of it later. But yeah, he won't want to do it. But anyway, all right, I got to look up.
Speak Brazil.
Speak Brazil. What?
I like Brazil's soccer team, but I don't think that's what
Pedro
he's asking.
Oh, I see that. I clicked
Faruga.
off the screen for a second.
Yeah.
I got to look up your, all these. You already corrected your one number. I gotta check out Sweden now too. All right.
Sweden. All right. Good night, guys.
You should take the Wonderlick.
Yes.
Take the
Take
one
it.
so we can talk.
Do
about
I need to lick any salt or anything, or what do I got to do for this thing?
Fun Dip. You gotta have 3 packs of Fun Dip with you.
Fun dip.
Yep, there you go.
Make it so. All right, guys. Thank you for the good conversation. I am out of here.
All right. So 7:30 my time Thursday night.
Oh, and then Jared, would you want to discuss Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on Saturday?
Yeah.
After that'd be a long day, after ours. It'd be like 12 or so.
Yeah, I got nowhere else to be. Well, actually, stuff will be opening up, but no, this will be my last Saturday without for sure anywhere else to be. Although I probably still won't have anywhere else to be because I won't be going to, all these places that will be open.
I don't think what Yogi Berra once said, I never go to that place. What did he say? Nobody ever goes to that place because it's always packed. That's just going to be like when everything opens up. Nobody's going out today because everything's packed.
We'll see. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know either. I have no idea. I just want to talk about Yogi Berra.
But yeah, no, I got time to do it Saturday.
Okay. And then, AJ, we got to get you in for a reverse redaction, maybe on a Marvel something or other.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing until November.
No,
until
but reverse redaction is past. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's plenty of movies to mine there for our local. You're our local Marvel master. Got
Yes.
nothing. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
Well, we got to end the broadcast first.
Oh.
Bye.